You're either leading yourself or losing yourself. That's the truth most people avoid, but it's the truth that decides everything. Look at your own life for a moment. Are you making the choices that move you forward? Or are you giving in to comfort, delay, and distraction? Every day you either build yourself or you let yourself slip. There's no middle ground. Think about how you wake up, how you spend your mornings, how you handle your habits. If you don't take control, life takes control of you. And that's when you slowly lose direction without even noticing. People don't fail because they don't dream big. They fail because they don't lead themselves in the small daily moments. This video will push you to face that reality. It will show you how to step into control of your own life before it's too late. Stay here. This might change the way you live tomorrow. Number 1. Stop waiting for motivation and take action right now. That is not just a statement. That is a fact of life. Every day you wake up, you're faced with a decision about how you'll use your time, how you'll handle your responsibilities, and how you'll move yourself forward. If you choose to wait for the perfect burst of motivation to show up, you'll keep standing in the same place, and time does not wait. Each day is slipping away, and every delay builds a gap between where you are and where you could be. People think motivation is what makes the difference, but it's not motivation that builds a meaningful life. It's action. It's deciding to move when you don't feel like it, when the energy isn't there, and when the mind tells you it would be easier to postpone. Motivation is fragile. It's like a spark that disappears as fast as it comes. You might feel inspired for a moment, but that feeling does not last. What matters is whether you take action in that moment, because action is what builds progress. Action is what gives you energy, not the other way around. You've had mornings when you didn't want to do anything, but once you got moving, you felt alive. You felt clear. That's because movement mains you. But too many people wait for motivation, and in the waiting, they lose days, weeks, even years. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll move when I feel inspired. And before they know it, their lives are filled with unfinished goals, broken promises, and dreams that never moved beyond their imagination. If you want to lead yourself, you must take action right now without waiting. Right now, you can choose to change. Right now, you can decide to act differently than you did yesterday. That choice does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Because the power is in the start, not in the feeling. Every person you admire, every person you verse, got to where they are because they acted long before they felt motivated. They didn't wait for the right time. They created the time. They worked when it was inconvenient. They moved when it was uncomfortable. They led themselves. And that's why they are not losing themselves. Think about your own life. Think about the times you delayed action because you didn't feel like it. Think about the workout you skipped, the book you didn't read, the plan you didn't follow. Ask yourself honestly, did waiting make it easier? Did waiting make you stronger? Or did waiting weaken your confidence and bury your ambition? You know the truth. Waiting never made you stronger. It only made you doubt yourself more. Every time you delay action, you teach yourself that excuses are stronger than discipline. And when excuses become your habit, you stop leading your life. You surrender it. You lose yourself one day at a time. Taking action right now is not about being reckless. It's about choosing to break the pattern of waiting. It's about saying, I'm in charge of my own future, and I'll prove it at what I do today. You don't need to move mountains. You just need to take a step. Because once you take that step, the second one becomes easier. When you finish one action, your confidence grows. Your mind begins to trust you. That's how you build momentum, not by waiting for a perfect burst of energy, but by showing yourself that you can start even when you don't feel like it. There's a danger in waiting for motivation. The danger is that life keeps moving. Opportunities pass by. People who act get ahead, while those who wait stay behind. Look around you. You know people who are less talented than you, less capable than you, but they're ahead of you. And do you know why? Because they acted. They did not waste time waiting for the right feeling. They didn't need someone to push them. They pushed themselves. That leadership starts with self-leadership. And self-leadership means you don't need constant motivation to move forward. You move forward because your life depends on it. If you want to change your life, You need to train yourself to take action before you feel ready. Start small if you must. Take one decision today that you've been delaying. Start on one task you've been avoiding. Prove to yourself that action comes first and motivation comes later. Once you do it, you'll see something powerful. Your mind and your body respond to action. They reward you energy, with clarity, and with strength. But you only feel that reward after you move, not before. Some people think discipline is a punishment, but it's not. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I won't let laziness win. I won't let fear win. I won't let distraction win. It's the ability to follow through no matter how you feel. That is what separates the leaders from the ones who lose themselves. Leaders take action daily. Leaders show up consistently. Leaders push past excuses. And here's the truth. You don't need to be born with special skills to be a leader. You just need to make the choice to act, especially when it's difficult. Ask yourself right now, what have I been postponing? What action could I take today that would move me closer to the life I want? Don't wait for the perfect moment. It won't come. Don't wait for motivation. It fades. Don't wait for permission. No one else can live your life for you. You must lead yourself. And leading yourself means acting right now. The pain of action is temporary. The pain of inaction lasts forever. When you push yourself today, it might feel uncomfortable for an hour, maybe a day. But when you keep avoiding, it eats at you for months, for years. Which pain do you want to live with? The short pain of discipline or the long pain of regret? That choice is yours, but you must face it. Because every day, you're either leading yourself through action or you're losing yourself through inaction. It's easy to believe that tomorrow will be better, that tomorrow you'll have more energy, more time, more motivation. But tomorrow is just another today waiting to be wasted. If you can't act today, what makes you believe you'll act tomorrow? Change begins when you take action now. If you want to rebuild your health, start with one workout today. If you want to improve your knowledge, read one page today. If you want to transform your finances, save $1 today. These actions may seem small, but they break the chain of waiting. They show you that you can act now, and that is what matters most. When you act, you feel alive, you feel capable, you feel in control. When you wait, you feel powerless, you feel stuck, you feel left behind. That is the difference between leading yourself and losing yourself. Every choice you make pushes you in one of those directions. Every action is a vote for leadership or a vote for surrender. The world does not reward potential. It rewards potential means nothing if it never leaves your head. You may have the best ideas, the best plans, the best goals, but if you don't act, none of it matters. People who act will pass you by. Life will pass you by, and you will sit with the weight of regret, knowing you could have done more, but you chose to wait. Don't put yourself in that position. Action is not only about achievement, it's about identity. When you act, you tell yourself, I am capable, I am strong, I can handle responsibility. That belief builds with every action you take. On the other hand, when you avoid action, you tell yourself, I am weak, I can't handle pressure, I can't change my life. And the more you tell yourself that, the more you lose yourself. You must decide who you want to become. Do you want to become the person who acts even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient? Or do you want to become the person who waits, delays, and watches their life slip by? That decision is being made right now, not in the future, because every action you take is shaping your future self. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You just need to move. Take action, and then see how motivation follows. Take action, and then see how your energy rises. Take action, and then see how your life changes. That is the formula. Action first, motivation second. Action first, growth second. Action first, success second. So stop waiting. Stop hoping that the perfect time will come. Stop telling yourself that you'll begin tomorrow. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Today is the only day you have. Lead yourself right now, or lose yourself forever. The choice is endless, but it's not easy. That's why so many people lose themselves. They give in to the ease of waiting. But if you choose action today, you separate yourself from the majority. You become someone who leads, someone who builds, someone who wins. This is your wake-up call. Look at your life honestly. Where are you waiting? Where are you postponing? Where are you avoiding? Write it down, face it, and then act. Take one step today, just one, because one step proves that you are leading yourself. And once you prove that to yourself, you'll never want to go back. You'll want to act again tomorrow, and again the day after. And soon, action becomes who you are. That is the real difference between leading yourself. Leaders act now. Followers of excuses wait. Which one will you choose? Number 2. Decide your values today, or let society choose them. The truth is, if you don't decide your values today, someone else will decide them for you. Life doesn't leave that space empty. The world, society, the people around you, the culture you're in, it all has a way of pushing beliefs, standards, and behaviors onto you if you don't stand up and choose for yourself. That's why deciding your values is not a small task. It's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make, because everything else you do flows from it. Values are the standards you live by. They are not wishes, and they are not casual opinion. They are the rules you set for yourself about what matters most, what you will allow, and what you will reject. If you don't define them, you will bend under pressure. You will change depending on who you're with. You'll agree to things you know are wrong just to fit in. You'll follow trends, not because they make sense for your life, but because you didn't have something stronger guiding you. When that happens, you lose yourself little by little. You lose confidence in your own judgment, and you begin to live by someone else's expectations instead of your own truth. Look around you. Many people live without clear values. They go with the flow. They do what everyone else is doing. They let the media, their peers, or even strangers online set the tone for their lives. They'll say yes when they want to say no. They'll pursue things that don't matter just because they saw someone else doing it. And years later, they wonder why they feel empty. It's because they never made the decision about what was most important to them. They allowed society to make that decision. And society doesn't care about your life, your growth, or your happiness. Society cares about keeping you distracted, consuming, and following the crowd. If you don't want to lose yourself in that trap, you need to draw the line and say, these are my values, and I live by them. Deciding your values is not a one-time act of writing nice words on a paper. It is a serious self-examination. It's asking yourself questions that demand honesty. What kind of person do I want to be? What principles do I want guiding my decisions? What standards do I refuse to compromise on? These answers may not come easily, but they will give you something priceless: clarity. Clarity brings strength. Clarity helps you make hard choices, because you know what matters most. Without it, you get pulled in every direction until you don't even recognize yourself. Values give structure to your life. If you value honesty, you don't lie to get ahead, even if lying seems easy. If you value health, you take care of your body, even when unhealthy choices are tempting. If you view discipline, you keep working when others quit. Every decision becomes clearer when your values are set, because you don't debate endlessly. You already know the answer. Your values answer for you. But if you haven't made those decisions, then every situation becomes a struggle. You hesitate, you overthink, and often you give in to the easiest option. That's how people lose themselves, not because they set out to fail, but because they never set their foundation. Think of how many people compromise their values for acceptance. They know what's right, but they go against it because they're afraid of standing alone. They know what's wrong, but they participate because it's easier than being questioned. Every time they do that, they weaken their own identity. And the more you do it, the harder it becomes to return to yourself. Soon you've built a life full of things you don't believe in, and the weight of that can break a person. You can avoid that future by deciding your values today. Decide what matters most before the pressure comes. Decide what you stand for the test arrives. When you've already made the decision, you won't be shaken as easily. You won't collapse under influence, because your values are your anchor. You'll be able to say no with strength, and you'll be able to say yes with conviction. That is what it means to lead yourself. But values are not just personal. They also shape how others see you. People respect those who live by clear standards. They may not always agree with you, but they will know where you stand. And that respect opens doors. It makes others trust you because they know you are consistent. On the other hand, if you bend and shift your values to fit every situation, people sense it. They know you're not reliable, and they won't take you seriously. You lose respect externally when you compromise values, but more importantly, you lose respect for yourself. Living by values is not easy. It will cost you. You may lose some friends who can't accept your standards. You may face criticism when you refuse to compromise. You may feel uncomfortable when everyone else is going in one direction and you choose another. But that cost is worth it, because the reward is knowing you didn't sell yourself out. You didn't give up your identity for convenience. You held on to what mattered. And that kind of strength builds confidence that no one can take from you. One of the biggest traps in life is believing you can wait until later to figure out your V's. People say, I'll decide what's important once I'm old. I'll figure out my standards once I'm at least. But life doesn't wait. While you're undecided, society is shaping you. Every commercial, every influencer, every peer group is pushing something on you. You don't stand on something firm. You will take in everything they give you, without realizing you're losing the power to choose for yourself. That's why the time is not tomorrow, not someday. It's today. Decide today what your values are. Decide today what you will live by. It's not about being perfect. It's about being clear. If you know your values, you'll still make mistakes, but those mistakes won't define you. You'll recognize them, correct them, and get back on track, because you know where you're going. Without values, mistakes multiply because you don't even know what direction to correct toward. You wander, and wandering too long leads to being lost. So how do you decide your values? Start with honesty. Be brutally honest about what matters most to you. Don't copy someone else's list. Don't choose words that sound nice, but don't reflect your heart. Choose what truly matters. Then commit to them. Live them daily. Let your actions reflect them. If you value family, show it in your time. If you value growth, show it in your discipline. If you value integrity, show it in your choices. Values are proven by action, not talk. Once you decide your values and live by them, you'll notice something powerful. You'll stop feeling lost. You'll stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You'll stop worrying about fitting in everywhere. You'll start living with purpose. You'll feel aligned, because your daily choices match your inner truth. That alignment creates peace, confidence, and strength. And when challenges come, you won't collapse, because you're standing on values, not on opinions or feelings that change every day. Deciding your values today is about protecting yourself from losing yourself tomorrow. It's about taking leadership over your life before society takes leadership over it for you. It's about saying, I know what I believe, and I won't trade it for approval or comfort. That's what makes a person strong. That's what makes a person free. Every person must face this choice. Will you define your own values and lead yourself, or will you let society define them and lose yourself? The answer is not decided by anyone else. It's decided by you, and it's decided right now. If you want a life of meaning, if you want respect, if you want strength, then stop postponing. Stop waiting until the thorough calms down, until it's convenient, until you feel ready. That day will never come. The decision is yours, and the time is today. Decide your values and live them with conviction, because without them, you'll drift into a life you never want. But with them, you'll build a life that reflects who you truly are. That is the choice. You're either leading yourself with values you decide today, or you're losing yourself to values decided for you. And the cost of losing yourself is far too great. Decide today, live by it, and never surrender that choice to anyone else. Number 3. Confront your bad habits honestly, or stay their prisoner. Everyone has habits that shape the direction of their life. Some of those habits push you forward, while others hold you down. If you want to know why your life is the way it is today, look at your habits. If you want to know where your life will be 5 years from now, look at your habits. The truth is simple. If you do not confront your bad habits honestly, you will remain their prisoner. Bad habits are not just little routines that waste time. They are anchors that keep you from moving. They eat away at your confidence. They rob you of opportunities. They keep you from becoming the person you are capable of being. And yet many people refuse to confront them. They ignore them. They make excuses for them. They tell themselves it is not that bad, that they'll change later, that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never comes for someone who keeps lying to themselves today. That's how a person becomes stuck, repeating the same behaviors year after year, wondering why life feels heavy and progress never comes. The first step to breaking free is honesty. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. You cannot change what you refuse to admit. Too many people protect their bad habits with excuses. They say, this is just who I am. This is just how I cope. This is how I deal with stress. But every time you defend your bad habits, you make them stronger. You hand them more control over your life. You give them permission to stay. And slowly, they shape your identity. Instead of being someone who leads their life, you become someone who is led by cravings, distractions, and patterns that don't serve you. Confronting your bad habits means looking yourself in the mirror and saying, this is holding me back, and I can't keep pretending it's not. That is uncomfortable. It forces you to take responsibility instead of shifting the blame. It forces you to admit that the life you have today is the result of what you've been choosing daily. But that kind of honesty is the start of freedom. The moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop being blind. You finally see the chains for what they are. And once you see them, you can begin to break them. Bad habits are powerful because they are comfortable. They feel familiar. They give you quick relief. They are easy to do. That's why people return to them, even when they know the damage. Eating the wrong food, staying up late, skipping important work, wasting hours on distractions. None of these habits are hard in the moment. What's hard is living with the long-term consequence. What's hard is realizing you missed opportunities. Your health is declining. Your confidence is gone. And your dreams are slipping away. That's the true cost of comfort. And when you look at it honestly, you realize those small habits are not small at all. They are shaping your entire life. Breaking free begins with small acts of discipline. You don't have to transform everything overnight. You just have to prove to yourself that you can take back control in one area. If you waste hours scrolling on your phone, confront it by setting a strict limit and sticking to it. If you eat poorly, confront it by replacing one bad meal a day with something healthy. If you constantly procrastinate, confront it by finishing one small task immediately instead of delaying. These actions seem small, but they send a message to yourself. I am not a prisoner. I am in control. And every time you act with control, you weaken the grip of your bad habits. But honesty must go deeper than actions. You have to confront the reasons behind your habits. Bad habits often come from avoiding discomfort. They come from running away from stress, fear, or boredom. You smoke to calm your nerves. You waste time. You avoid difficult work. You overeat to cover emotional pain. Until you admit what you're running from, you will always fall back into the same cycles. Honesty is saying, I am not just eating junk food. I am using it to hide my anxiety. I am not just wasting time. I am avoiding the fear of failing. When you strip away the excuses and see the truth, you finally have a chance to change it. And here's where leadership comes in. Leading yourself means doing what is difficult today, so your life becomes easier tomorrow. Losing yourself means chasing what is easy today and paying the heavy price tomorrow. Every bad habit is a decision to take the easy way now, while ignoring the cost later. Every time you confront a habit and choose differently, you take the hard way now, but you earn the freedom later. That's what separates the ones who build their lives, the ones who waste their lives. No one can confront your habits for you. Friends may point them out, family may warn you, but until you decide to be honest, nothing will change. You have to look at your patterns and say, this is not the life I want. I refuse to keep repeating this. That decision is yours alone, and it's made in private moments when no one is watching. That's where real leadership begins. Not in public speeches, not in social approval, but in the quiet choices you make when no one else sees. It's important to understand that your bad habits will fight back. They will tempt you. They will whisper excuses. They will lie to convince you that one more time won't hurt, that tomorrow you'll start fresh, that change is too hard. If you give in to those whispers, you remain a prisoner. But if you stand firm, even once, you begin to break the cycle. Each victory gives you strength for the next. Each time you say no to the habit, you say yes to your freedom. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Confronting your bad habits does not mean you'll never slip again. It means you don't run from the truth. It means when you slip, you admit it, you get back up, and you keep moving. Prisoners stay down. Leaders get back up. That's the difference. Think about the future version of yourself. Do you want to be someone who lives in chains, controlled by impulses and patterns you know are harmful? Or do you want to be someone who stands strong, someone who can trust themselves, someone who builds a life with discipline and integrity? That future is not built in one giant leap. It's built today, in the honest decision to confront your bad habits instead of excusing them. So ask yourself, what habit is stealing my energy, my time, my confidence? Write it down. Look at it with full honesty. Then decide what action you can take today to break its control. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because every day you delay, the chains get tighter. A day you avoid, the prison walls close in. But every day you act, you weaken the chains. Every day you confront, you open the door a little wider. Your life will always move in the direction of your habit. If you build habits of strength, honesty, and discipline, you will lead yourself to growth and success. If you protect habits of weakness, avoidance, and distraction, you will lose yourself to regret and wasted years. That is the reality, and you have the power to decide which path you'll take. Freedom does not come from wishing. Freedom comes from confronting. It comes from standing face to face with your bad habits and refusing to let them run your life anymore. That is what it means to lead yourself, and that decision is waiting for you right now. Number 4, take ownership of mistakes or repeat them every day. Everyone makes mistakes. No one is exempt from poor choices, wrong turns, or moments of weakness. The difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is how they handle those mistakes. When you take ownership of your mistakes, you turn them into lessons that strengthen you. When you avoid responsibility, you repeat the same patterns every day. And the weight of those repeated mistakes eventually destroys your confidence and your future. Mistakes are not the problem. Denial is the problem. Blaming others is the problem. Pretending you did nothing wrong is the problem. When you refuse to accept responsibility, you rob yourself of the opportunity to learn. You cover up the very thing that could have made you wiser, sharper, and more disciplined. And because you refuse to see it, you repeat it. That's why some people live the same painful cycle year after year. They think life is unfair. But the truth is, they keep making the same decisions because they never took the time to own them and change them. Taking ownership is not about beating yourself up. It's about facing reality with honesty. It's saying, I made that mistake. I chose that path. I ignored the warning signs. That kind of honesty hurts at first because it forces you to admit your own role in your struggle. But that pain is the starting point of growth. You cannot improve what you will not acknowledge. You cannot correct what you continue to deny. When you own it, you open the door to change. When you avoid it, you stay locked inside the same trap. Think about how many people carry the same regrets year after year because they never dealt with their mistakes. They keep dating the wrong people, working the wrong jobs, managing money poorly, neglecting their health, or wasting their time. And when you ask them why, they give you a story. They say it was bad luck, it was someone else's fault, it just happened to me. But the truth is, they didn't take ownership. They didn't stop and ask, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? What must I change? Without those questions, the mistakes never teach them anything. And so they repeat them daily, like a script that never changes. Ownership means you look at your life and accept that the results you have today are connected to the decisions you've made. That doesn't mean everything was under your control, but it does mean your responses, your choices, and your habits are your responsibility. When you admit that, you shift from being a victim of life to being the leader of your life. Leaders don't blame. Leaders don't hide. Leaders don't repeat. Leaders take the lesson and apply it to tomorrow looks different from yesterday. There's something freeing about taking ownership. It's heavy at first, because it feels like you're admitting weakness. But in reality, you're gaining power and you say, this was my mistake. You're also saying, and I can fix it. You give yourself permission to grow. You release yourself from the endless cycle of denial. You stop being a prisoner of the same errors. You start living with awareness. That awareness is what changes everything. Because once you know where you went wrong, you know where to correct. You know where to build discipline. You know where to strengthen yourself. Mistakes you don't own will own you. They will control your confidence. They will haunt your decisions. They will limit your opportunities because you'll be too afraid to try again. But mistakes you own become stepping stones. They don't paralyze you, they prepare you. They teach you what not to do. And that knowledge becomes the foundation of better choices. The only way you lose is if you repeat them blindly. The only way you stay stuck is if you keep running from them. Owning your mistakes also builds respect. People respect those who can say, I was wrong and I've learned. They may not like what you did, but they will admire the strength it takes to admit it and correct it. On the other hand, when you dodge responsibility, people stop trusting you. They see you as unreliable. And worse than losing the respect of ours is losing respect for yourself. Deep down, you know when you're hiding from the truth. And each time you avoid it, you weaken your self-belief. You stop trusting yourself because you know you're not being honest. Some people fear ownership because they think it will make them look weak. They think saying I was wrong will lower them in the eyes of others. But the opposite is true. Owning mistakes shows courage. It shows maturity. It shows character. Anyone can make excuses. Anyone can blame circumstances. Few people are strong enough to admit their own role. That's why those who take ownership rise above the rest. They are not perfect, but they are real. They grow faster. They recover stronger. And they move forward while others stay behind. If you want to change your life, start by reviewing your mistakes honestly. Write them down if you must. Look at the patterns. See the truth without sugarcoating it. Then ask, what do I need to do differently so this does not repeat? That simple step can save you years of regret. It can stop cycles that have kept you stuck. It can free you from being your own enemy. Don't confuse ownership with shame. Shame keeps you down. Ownership lifts you up. Shame says I am a failure. Ownership says I failed, but I can change. That distinction matters because one keeps you in the prison of repeated mistakes and the other unlocks the door to growth. You are not your mistakes. You are your response to them. And your response must be ownership if you want to lead yourself. Think about the kind of future you want. Do you want to carry the same regrets year after year, telling the same stories about why life never worked out? Or do you want to look back and say, I faced my mistakes, I learned, and I grew stronger? That choice is made today. If you take ownership, every mistake becomes a teacher. If you avoid ownership, every mistake becomes a chain. You are deciding right now whether to lead yourself or lose yourself. The moment you own your mistakes, you lead. The moment you deny them, you lose. Life is not asking for perfection. It's asking for honesty, responsibility, and growth. Those three things will take you further than talent or luck ever could. So take ownership today. Don't wait until next year. Don't wait until things get worse. Don't repeat the same mistakes, hoping for a different outcome. Stop the cycle now. Face the truth. Admit the errors. And decide to change your direction. That is how you take control of your life again. That is how you make sure your mistakes are not wasted. That is how you turn failure into strength. Because the truth will always remain the same. You either take ownership of your mistakes today, or you repeat them every day until they define you. And if you don't want to live as a prisoner of the past, then make the decision now to lead yourself into a better future. Number 5. Set your priorities clearly or live in constant confusion. Life will always demand something from you. There will always be people asking for your time, distractions pulling at your attention, and endless tasks competing for your energy. Without clear priorities, you live in confusion. You wake up not knowing what truly matters. So you give pieces of yourself to everything and end up accomplishing nothing of real importance. But when you set your priorities clearly, your life gains direction. You know what deserves your attention and what can be ignored. You stop scattering your energy and start building a future that reflects what matters most to you. Confusion happens when you try to treat everything as equal. You tell yourself you can do it all. You try to say yes to every demand, every request, every idea. But the reality is, you don't have unlimited time or unlimited focus. When you avoid making tough choices about priorities, you end up busy all day but not productive. You work hard, yet feel empty. You check off small tasks, but the big goals never move forward. That's the cost of living without clear priorities. You exhaust yourself, but remain stuck in the same place. People often say they are overwhelmed, but what they really mean is that they have not decided what matters most. Overwhelm is the natural result of confusion. You don't know what to focus on, so you chase everything. And in chasing everything, you lose yourself. You forget your goals. You forget your standards. You forget what you set out to achieve. That's why many people feel like they are running in circles. They are moving, but not moving in the right direction. Setting priorities is an act of leadership. It means you stop letting the world decide for you. You take control of your life by choosing where your time and energy go. You draw the line and say, this matters, and this does not. This deserves my focus, and this can wait. That clarity is what removes confusion. That clarity is what creates progress. Without it, you're constantly reacting to life instead of creating life. But priorities are not just about work or goals. They reflect your value. If family is a priority, your calendar should prove it. If health is a priority, your daily choices should show it. If growth is a priority, your routine should reflect it. Too many people claim something is important, but never back it up with action. They say they want to improve, but their time is consumed with distractions. They say they value relationships, but they never make the effort. When your actions don't match your claimed priorities, you live in internal conflict. That conflict produces confusion, because your life says one thing while your words say another. Deciding priorities requires honesty. You cannot say yes to everything, so you must ask yourself the hard questions. What do I want most in the next 5 years? What truly matters to me more than anything else? What am I willing to sacrifice for? And what am I willing to let go of? These questions cut through the noise. They force you to decide. And in deciding, you gain strength. Avoid those questions, and confusion rules your life. Without priorities, you give your time to whoever demands it loudest. You react to emergencies that aren't yours. You say yes to people who don't respect your boundaries. You chase opportunities that don't align with your goals. And in doing so, you betray yourself. That betrayal doesn't happen all at once. It happens little by little, until you look up and realize you've been working hard, but building someone else's dream, not your own. When you set priorities clearly, you begin to live with intention. You stop apologizing for focusing on what matters. You stop feeling guilty for saying no. You stop being pulled in 100 directions. Instead, you move with purpose. Each day becomes simpler, not because life is easy, but because you've already decided what is important. Decisions become easier when your priorities are clear. If health is a priority, you don't debate whether to eat junk food or not. You already know the answer. If financial stability is a priority, you don't waste hours or money. You know your limit. If growth is a priority, you don't waste years avoiding discomfort. You face challenges because they move you closer to your goals. Confusion wastes more lives than failure. People think failure is the biggest danger, but the truth is most people never even get far enough to fail. They stay confused, stuck between too many choices, too many distractions, too many demands. They never commit to anything, so they never achieve anything. Confusion feels safe because you don't have to choose, but it's deadly because your life slips away while you hesitate. Clarity comes at a cost. To set priorities, you must let go of things that look appealing, but don't truly matter. You must be willing to disappoint people who want your time but don't align with your goals. You must accept that focus requires sacrifice. That sacrifice is what makes priorities powerful. When you stop scattering your time, you multiply your results. You do less, but you achieve more, because what you do actually matters. Ask yourself, what are my true priorities right now? Not what I wish they were, not what I pretend they are, but what they really are. Your life is a reflection of your real priorities. If your health is poor, then comfort or convenience has been a higher priority than discipline. If your relationships are weak, then distraction or work has been a higher priority than connection. If your goals remain unfinished, then entertainment or procrastination has been a higher priority than focus. That truth may sting, but it is necessary, because once you see where your priorities have been, you can begin to reset them. Setting priorities clearly is one of the most liberating decisions you'll ever make. You wake up knowing what matters. You stop carrying the burden of trying to do everything. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else, because you know what your path is. And as you stick to your priorities, life gets simpler. You're no longer living in reaction. You're leading yourself with direction. Every day is a test. If you haven't set your priorities, the day will choose for you. Emails, notifications, people's opinions, distractions, they will take over. But if you've decided in advance, you'll filter out the noise. You'll know when to say no, and your no will be firm. That's the difference between leaders and followers. Leaders know their priorities. Followers take whatever comes. So the choice is in front of you. Will you continue living in confusion, pulled in every direction, busy but not fulfilled? Or will you decide today what matters most and start aligning your life to it? That decision shapes everything: your health, your relationships, your work, your peace of mind. It determines whether you build a life of meaning or drift through a life of regret. The truth is clear: set your priorities clearly, or live in constant confusion. No one else can do it for you. If you don't decide, the world will. And if the world decides, you lose yourself. But if you decide, you take leadership of your life. You gain clarity, focus, and progress. And that is the foundation of a life well lived. Number 6, control your daily routines or watch your life collapse. Every day of your life is shaped not by what you dream about, not by what you talk about, but by what you repeatedly do. Your routines are the invisible architecture of your future. They determine how you think, how you feel, how you perform, and who you eventually become. If you don't control them, they will control you. And when they control you, life slowly collapses. You cannot build a strong future on weak routine. You cannot expect a meaningful life when your days are filled with disorder, distraction, and inconsistency. People often underestimate the power of their daily actions. They think success comes from one big decision, one lucky break, or one dramatic change. But the reality is much simpler. Success or failure is decided by the little things you do every single day. Waking up late again and again creates years of lost potential. Spending hours on distractions turns into decades of wasted time. Ignoring your health daily becomes years of fatigue and sickness. These choices feel small in the moment, but they stack, and eventually, they shape the course of your life. That's why routines matter more than motivation. Routines run your life quietly in the background, and if you don't set them with intention, they'll drag you into habits that destroy your progress. Look at your current life honestly. Where you are today is a reflection of yesterday's routine. If your body is strong, it's because you built the routine of caring for it. If your mind is sharp, it's because you built the routine of learning. If your work is productive, it's because you built the routine of discipline. But if you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unfulfilled, it's because your routines are leading you there. The uncomfortable truth is this: your routines are either lifting you up or pulling you down. And if you don't take control of them, they will ruin your future. A collapsing life doesn't happen suddenly. It crumbles one routine at a time. Sleeping too late becomes chronic fatigue. Ignoring your finances daily becomes overwhelming debt. Neglecting your relationships each day leads to distance and resentment. Skipping small acts of discipline creates large gaps of regret. That's how collapse happens. Not in a single moment, but in the repetition of weak daily habits. Many people don't see it until it's too late. They wonder how their life fell apart. But the truth is, it didn't fall apart suddenly. It unraveled slowly through the routines they ignored. If you want to lead yourself, you must take ownership of your daily structure. That means deciding in advance what your days should look like. not leaving it to chance, not waiting to see how you feel. If you leave your routines to chance, you'll waste your days on whatever is easiest. And what's easiest rarely builds anything worthwhile. Leadership means discipline. It means waking up with a plan, sticking to it, and building momentum one consistent day at a time. Control begins with the morning. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you begin in chaos, scrolling endlessly, rushing, or wasting time, you carry that same energy into the rest of your day. But if you begin with intention, your actions gain focus. You create strength in the first hours, and that strength carries you through. Controlling your routines doesn't mean filling every moment with work, but it does mean having a structure that keeps you aligned with your goals. You don't need to copy someone else's routine. What works for another person may not work for you. What matters is that your routines reflect your priorities. If health is a priority, your daily structure must include movement and discipline with food. If growth is a priority, your routine must include learning and reflection. If relationships are a priority, your daily habits must include connection and attention. Without those anchors, you'll drift into meaningless activity that steals your time, but gives you nothing in return. One of the dangers of ignoring your routines is that life becomes reactive. You spend your days responding other people's demands instead of creating your own direction. You become available to every distraction, every interruption, every low-value task. And while you may feel busy, you're not actually leading yourself anywhere. Busying in without direction is the surest path to collapse. It drains you while keeping you stuck in place. That's why structure matters. Structure filters out what doesn't belong. It gives you the ability to say no with confidence, because you already know what your time is reserved for. Discipline with routines is not punishment. It's protection. It protects your time from being wasted. It protects your energy from being scattered. It protects your goals from being forgotten. Without that protection, you're exposed. Exposed to laziness, exposed to distraction, exposed to the endless noise of the world. And when you live exposed long enough, your future collapses under the weight of neglect. The strongest people in life are not those who rely on bursts of inspiration. They are the ones who build routines so firm that even on their worst days, they still move forward. They don't ask themselves whether they feel like working, studying, exercising, or staying disciplined. Their routines decide for them. That is the kind of leadership that keeps life from falling apart. You don't leave your future to chance. You set it in motion through daily systems that carry you forward no matter how you feel. Ask yourself honestly, what routines are building my future? And what routines are destroying it? Write them down. Face them directly. If you waste your evenings with hours of meaningless activity, be honest about it. If you constantly procrastinate important tasks, admit it. If you ignore your health each day, confront it. Don't sugarcoat your life. Weak routines won't get better just because you ignore them. You have to face them and then take back control. Taking back control doesn't require massive changes overnight. It requires consistent small shifts. Go to bed at a set time. Wake up earlier with purpose. Block time for the things that matter most. Remove the routines that feed distraction and replace them with ones that feed growth. Every adjustment builds momentum. Over time, the small changes add up to massive transformation. But it begins with the decision to lead your routines instead of letting them lead you. Your future is hiding in your daily schedule. If you want a better future, build better routines. If you want to collapse, ignore your routines. It really is that simple. The person who lives with discipline will always outgrow the person who lives with disorder. Not because they are smarter or more talented, but because their routines shape them into someone stronger, sharper, and more reliable. So the choice is yours. Do you want to wake up every day in confusion, reacting to life, repeating cycles of weakness until your future falls apart? Or do you want to wake up with clarity, knowing your routines are aligned with the life you want to build? That decision cannot be postponed. Every day you avoid structure is another day of collapse beginning silently in the background. But every day you take control, you rebuild, you strengthen, you protect. You're either leading yourself or losing yourself. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the routines you follow daily. Control them now, or watch your life collapse slowly under the weight of neglect. The choice is yours, and it begins to. Number 7. Make hard choices now or suffer easy excuses later. Every one of us is confronted with decisions that feel heavy, decisions that require discipline, sacrifice, and discomfort. They are not enjoyable in the moment, but they are the very decisions that shape strength, character, and future success. If you avoid making hard choices today, you are not escaping the cost. You are only delaying it, and what comes later is far worse. The pain of excuses, the regret of wasted years, and the weight of knowing you could have done more, but chose not to. Life will not hand you growth without a price. It demands that you step into the uncomfortable. It requires you to take responsibility when it's easier to blame, to act when it's easier to delay, to say no when temptation says yes. Those are hard choices, but they are the foundation of freedom. Most people never live the life they want, not because they lacked the opportunity, but because they kept avoiding those decisions. They chose the ease of excuses, telling themselves stories to justify their lack of action. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll start later. But excuses don't protect you. They poison you slowly. They create the illusion of relief while planting the seeds of regret. Making hard choices requires honesty with yourself. It means admitting that comfort today comes with a bill tomorrow. Skipping the workout feels easy now, but it makes your body weaker in the long run. Avoiding a tough conversation feels safe today, but it builds resentment and destroys trust later. Spending recklessly feels enjoyable now, but it turns into financial stress years down the road. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you trade long-term stability for short-term relief. That trade feels light in the moment, but the cost grows heavier with time. Excuses pile up quietly. One day missed becomes 2. One decision postponed becomes weak. Before long, the habit of avoiding difficulty takes control of your life. And once you live by excuses, they start to sound convincing. You convince yourself you didn't really have a choice. You convince yourself that others have it easier. You convince yourself you'll do it when the timing is better. But deep down, you know the truth. You simply avoided the hard choice, and now you are living with the consequences. Hard choices are not punishments. They are opportunities to grow strong. Each one you face is a chance to build resilience, to build credibility with yourself, to prove that you can rise above comfort. Think back on the moments in your life that made you proud. They weren't the easy times. They were the moments when you did what was difficult and came out stronger. That is where confidence comes from. Not from wishing, not from hoping, but from knowing you did what was required even when it was hard. If you want to lead yourself, you have to accept that life will test you. You'll be asked to wake up early when you'd rather sleep, to study when you'd rather relax, to work on your goals when distractions are tempting. You'll be asked to sacrifice comfort for progress. These are the moments that separate leaders from those who lose themselves. Leaders choose discipline. Followers of excuses choose delay. And delay always turns into disappointment. Excuses may protect your ego temporarily, but they destroy your results permanently. You may feel good telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, and next becomes next year, until you realize your time is gone. That's the danger of easy excuses. They sound harmless, but they steal your future. Meanwhile, those who choose the hard path today create momentum. They may struggle in the moment, but they grow, they improve, and they build the life others only talk about. The truth is, hard choices are unavoidable. You will face them whether you like it or not. The only question is, will you make them today when they can still move your life forward? Or will you avoid them and suffer the consequences later? The hard hours of exercising today saves you from the harder choice of dealing with poor health later. The hard choice of discipline with money today saves you from the harder choice of drowning in debt later. The hard choice of being honest today saves you from the harder choice of repairing broken trust later. You can't escape difficulty, you can only choose when you face it. If you want to live a meaningful life, stop looking for shortcuts. Stop hoping there's a way to succeed without sacrifice. Stop telling yourself you'll find a path that doesn't require discipline. That path doesn't exist. Every person who has built something worthwhile has walked through the same doors of discomfort. They made hard choices early, and that's why they live with freedom later. Those who avoided the cost live chained to regret. Think about the areas in your life right now where you've been avoiding the hard choice. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your work. Maybe it's your relationships. Whatever it is, you know what needs to be done. You've been carrying it in your mind for weeks, months, maybe even years. It never goes away because deep down you know the decision must be made. The longer you avoid it, the heavier it feels. That weight will not disappear until you face it. The key to building strength is to stop negotiating with yourself. Stop debating whether you should do the hard thing. The longer you debate, the more excuses sound reasonable. Decide in advance that when the choice appears, you will take the harder path, because the harder path is the one that leads to growth. Once that becomes your standard, your life changes. You no longer waste energy arguing with yourself. You simply act, and each act builds more discipline, more progress, and more respect for yourself. When you look back years from now, you won't remember the easy days. You'll remember the days you chose discipline when it was difficult. You'll remember the times you did what others would. You'll remember the choices that tested you and made you stronger. And those memories will give you pride instead of regret. That is the reward of making hard choices now. The choice in front of you is simple, but not easy. Lead yourself by facing the hard decisions today, or lose yourself by hiding behind easy excuses that will only grow heavier tomorrow. You can't escape the price. You can only decide whether to pay it now in discipline or pay it later in regret. One leads to freedom, the other leads to change, and the decision is yours to make today. Number 8, face discomfort daily or stay addicted to comfort forever. Every person wants growth, progress, and strength, but most avoid the very conditions that produce those things. Discomfort is not an obstacle to life. It is the training ground of life. Without facing it daily, you remain addicted to comfort. And once comfort becomes your addiction, it quietly takes away your discipline, your energy, and your potential. Comfort is easy in the moment, but destructive in the long run. Discomfort is difficult in the moment, but life-changing in the future. That's why if you want to lead yourself, you must deliberately face discomfort every single day. Comfort offers immediate pleasure, and that's why it's dangerous. It feels good to stay in bed longer, to eat without discipline, to avoid the hard task, to choose the easy distraction. But each time you choose it, you weaken your ability to handle pressure. You train your mind to escape instead of to endure. You create a pattern where you avoid difficulty at all costs. Over time, this becomes your identity. You don't just use comfort occasionally. You become ruled by it. And once you are ruled by comfort, you cannot build anything worthwhile. Because every meaningful achievement requires struggle. And if you cannot handle struggle, you will never achieve. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your ally. It pushes you to grow beyond your limits. It forces you to discover strength you didn't know you had. It sharpens your discipline, tests your commitment, and builds your character. Think about the people you admire most. None of them built their lives in constant comfort. They faced resistance. They faced challenges. They faced hard conditions. And that daily encounter with discomfort is what shaped them into leaders, achievers, and examples. The truth is, you don't grow when life is easy. You grow when you face what is uncomfortable and decide not to run. The trap of comfort is that it doesn't feel dangerous, doesn't destroy you instantly. It works slowly, quietly, invisibly. A few minutes wasted today doesn't seem like much. A poor choice with food or money doesn't seem destructive in the moment. But the danger of comfort is not in one choice. It's in the repetition. Each time you choose comfort, you strengthen the addiction. Soon, what was once a choice becomes a lifestyle. And when comfort becomes your lifestyle, you stop challenging yourself, you stop growing, and you stop leading yourself. That is how lives collapse without people realizing it. They thought they were choosing harmless relief, but they were really training themselves surrender. Facing discomfort daily does not mean seeking pain for no reason. It means deliberately choosing actions that stretch you. Waking up early when your body wants more sleep. Exercising when your mind says, stay still. Studying when you'd rather be entertained. Saving money when you'd rather spend it. Having difficult conversations when silence would be easier. These small acts of discomfort train your mind and body to obey your values instead of your impulses. That training is what gives you freedom. Because once you can face discomfort daily, nothing can hold you back. Challenges no longer scare you. Pressure no longer breaks you. You become reliable to yourself. Avoiding discomfort may feel safe, but it comes with hidden costs. If you avoid physical discomfort, your health collapses. If you avoid mental discomfort, your mind weakens. If you avoid emotional discomfort, your relationships suffer. Every area of life requires you to do things you don't feel like doing. And if you refuse to face that truth, you live stuck in cycles of weakness. You get smaller, not bigger. You settle, not grow. And slowly, you lose yourself in a life of wasted potential. Discomfort brings clarity. When you face it, you see who you are. You see whether you are disciplined or not, committed or not, strong or not. Comfort hides those truths. Comfort lets you avoid the mirror. But discomfort exposes reality, and reality is where you find the power to change. Facing it daily means you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending you're fine when you're really not. You stop covering your fears with convenience. You accept the difficulty, and in doing so, you gain control. Leading yourself requires a daily dose of discomfort. Not once a week, not once a month, but every day. Because every day comfort calls. It calls you to stay the same, to do less, to lower your standards. And if you don't push back, it wins. But if you face discomfort daily, you build resistance, you build strength, you build the meanness that says, I will not give in. That is leadership at the most personal level. It's not about leading others. It's about proving to yourself that you can handle what is hard. Excuses will always be there to protect comfort. Your mind will say, you deserve a break. You've done enough. It's too hard. But those excuses don't serve you. They trick you into choosing weakness. And each time you agree with them, you dig the hole deeper. The only way to break free is to act despite the excuses, to feel the discomfort and still move forward, to remind yourself that growth never comes cheap, and the price is always discomfort. Think about the future you want. If you imagine yourself stronger, healthier, wealthier, more respected, more fulfilled, it won't come by staying comfortable. It will come by enduring the discomfort of discipline today. Every workout, every late night study, every early morning, every tough decision, those are the building blocks of the future you desire. If you avoid them, your vision will remain a dream. If you face them daily, your vision becomes reality. The difference between leaders and followers is not talent, it's tolerance. Leaders tolerate discomfort. Followers chase comfort. Leaders endure discipline. Followers escape to ease. Leaders take responsibility. Followers hide from it. That is why leaders grow, while others stay the same. The ability to endure what is hard is the single greatest predictor of who succeeds and who fails. So the question is not whether you'll face discomfort. The question is whether you'll face it willingly each day, or whether you'll avoid it until it forces itself on you. Because discomfort will come either way. The difference is, if you face it daily, you build strength. If you avoid it daily, you grow weaker until life forces you into pain you can't escape. You cannot avoid discomfort forever. You can only choose whether to face it on your terms or to be crushed by it on life's terms. You're either leading yourself or losing yourself. And the truth is simple. If you don't face discomfort daily, you will stay addicted to comfort forever. And that addiction will rob you of growth, of respect, of strength, and of freedom. But if you make discomfort a part of your daily life, you'll unlock potential you never imagined. You'll build what others envy. You'll create a life where you are in control, not your cravings, not your laziness, not your fears. The choice is in front of you every single day. Face discomfort now and grow, or avoid it and face it daily and build freedom, or escape it and live chained to regret. Comfort is tempting, but it has nothing lasting to give you. Discomfort is demanding, but it holds the keys to everything you want. Decide which one will guide your life, because that decision will determine whether you lead yourself forward or lose yourself completely. Number 9, lead your emotions firmly or let anger destroy you. Every one of us feels anger, frustration, jealousy, fear, and sadness. These feelings are part of being human, but if you don't lead them, they will lead you. If you don't take control, they will push you into decisions you regret and actions you can't take back. One of the most destructive emotions, when left unchecked, is anger. It burns quickly, and if you don't lead it firmly, it will destroy relationships, opportunities, and your own peace of mind. Anger feels powerful in the moment. It makes you feel alive, like you're standing up for yourself, like you're proving something. But once it passes, it often leaves destruction behind. Words spoken in anger can't be unsaid. Choices made in anger can't always be undone. Bridges burned in anger don't easily rebuild. If you don't take control of that fire inside you, it consumes you first before it consumes anything else. And when you look back, you don't feel strong. You feel ashamed. That's why leadership begins with emotional leadership. If you can't lead your own emotions, you won't be able to lead your life. Leading your emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It means recognizing them, understanding them, and directing them instead of being a prisoner to them. Anger often comes from feeling disrespected, from unmet expectations, or from fear that something is slipping out of your control. If you don't pause to recognize why you're angry, you end up attacking the wrong target. You lash out at people who aren't the problem. You damage trust with people who care about you. And instead of solving the issue, you multiply it. When you lead your emotions firmly, you create a gap between feeling and reaction. In that gap is power. You stop being impulsive. You stop being reckless. You start making choices that align with your values, instead of with your temporary emotions. That's the difference between a person who grows stronger with age and a person who keeps repeating the same mistakes. Strength is not the absence of anger. Strength is the ability to feel it without letting it own you. Think about how many people have lost opportunities because they couldn't control their emotions. They said something in anger that cost them respect. They acted out of rage and ruined their reputation. They let pride guide them instead of wisdom. That one moment of emotional weakness created years of damage, and yet it all could have been avoided if they had led their emotions instead of letting emotions lead them. You cannot live a meaningful life if your emotions are in control. One day you're motivated. The next day you're discouraged. One day you're patient. The next day you're furious. If your actions depend on how you feel, your life will be unstable. Leadership means you act from principle, not from emotion. You do what is right, whether or not you feel like it. You keep your discipline, whether or not you are in the mood. You treat others with respect, whether or not you're frustrated. That consistency is what creates stability in your life. And without stability, you lose yourself. Anger is not only destructive externally, it also destroys you internally. It drains your energy, it clouds your thinking, it raises your stress, and damages your health. Living in constant anger is like carrying poison inside you every day. You may think you're directing it outward, but it's eating away at you first. Leading your emotions firmly is not just about protecting others. It's about protecting yourself. Your peace, your focus, and your well-being depend on it. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can always control how you respond. That's where emotional leadership shows itself. Someone offends you. Do you lash out? Or do you respond with control? Something doesn't go your way. Do you quit in frustration? Or do you stay disciplined? Life doesn't match your expectations. Do you complain endlessly? Or do you adjust and keep moving forward? Those decisions separate those who lead themselves from those who lose themselves. If you want to master your emotions, you must train yourself daily. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your triggers. Notice what makes you angry, what makes you impatient, what makes you anxious. Don't judge it, just notice it. Once you are aware, you can prepare. You can decide how you want to respond the next time it happens. Without that awareness, you'll keep reacting automatically. Those automatic reactions are what destroy progress. The next step is discipline. When you feel anger rising, pause before you act. Count, breathe, or step away if you need to. Create a space between the feeling and your reaction. In that space, remind yourself of your priorities. Ask, if I act on this emotion, will it help me or hurt me? Will it lead me closer to who I want to be? Or will it drag me further away? That pause may be short, but it gives you power. It turns you from a reactor into a leader of yourself. Over time, this discipline creates emotional strength. You stop being controlled by every wave of feeling. You stop giving away your power to people who provoke you. You stop sabotaging your own life because of temporary emotions. Instead, you become steady. People trust you because they know you won't explode at every challenge. You trust yourself because you know you can handle pressure without breaking. That's what real strength looks like. The opposite is a life led by uncontrolled emotions. That life is chaotic. Relationships are broken. Opportunities are lost. Trust is destroyed. And worst of all, you don't respect yourself because you know you're not in control. Every time you let anger lead, you tell yourself you are weak. Every time you take the easy way of reacting, you dig yourself deeper into regret. And once that becomes your habit, it's hard to escape. You live in constant reaction instead of intentional action. That's not leadership. That's surrender. Ask yourself honestly, am I leading my emotions, or are they leading me? Do I let anger dictate my words? Do I let frustration control my actions? Do I let fear decide my choices? If the answer is yes, then you're losing yourself. But if you take ownership today and decide to lead your emotions firmly, you can rebuild. You can break the cycle. You can turn every emotion, even anger, into a signal to act with wisdom instead of destruction. Life will not stop testing you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will frustrate you. Things will happen outside your control. That will never change. What must change is your response. Because when you master your response, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, nothing outside of you can destroy your peace or your progress. The truth is clear. Lead your emotions firmly, or let anger destroy you. If you want to live with strength, with peace, and with respect for yourself, the choice is obvious. Don't hand your life to uncontrolled feelings. Don't burn what you've built with a single reaction. Stand firm, stay steady. Lead yourself from principle, not from impulse. Because if you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of your life. And once you lose your life to anger, getting it back may take years, if it ever comes back at all. The choice is yours today. Lead your emotions with strength, or surrender to anger and let it destroy you. One path builds you into a person of respect and discipline. The other tears down everything you've worked for. Decide now which one will define you. Because the decision cannot be avoided. You're either leading yourself or losing yourself, and your emotions will reveal which one it is. Number 10. Take charge of your mornings or lose your entire day. The first hours of your day shape the quality of everything that follows. If you start with control, clarity, and discipline, you carry that energy into the rest of your day. If you start with laziness, distraction, and disorder, your entire day falls into the same rhythm. That's why taking charge of your mornings is not optional. If you want to live with direction, if you don't claim those hours, you hand them away to weakness. And once your morning is lost, it's rare to recover the day. Many people live in a cycle of wasted mornings. They hit the snooze button repeatedly, telling themselves they'll start later. They wake up rushing, already behind, with no sense of calm or structure. They open their phones immediately, filling their minds with noise and comparison before they've even set their own intentions. They drift into the day reactive instead of proactive. And then they wonder why they feel stressed, why they can't focus, why their goals remain undone. It's because they surrendered the most powerful part of the day without a fight. The morning is your opportunity to set the tone. It's your chance to decide how you will think, act, and lead yourself before the world interrupts. It's the time when your willpower is highest, your mind is freshest, and your environment is quietest. Those hours carry a power that no other part of the day can match. But if you waste them, you waste the very foundation on which success is built. By noon, the world is pulling you in every direction. Demands pile up, distractions multiply, responsibilities increase. If you didn't take charge of your morning, you've already lost the battle before it began. Taking charge doesn't mean you have to copy someone else's morning routine. It means you must intentionally design your own. What matters is not following a trend, but building habits that serve your values and goals. For some, it means exercising first thing to energize the body. For others, it means journaling or reading to sharpen the mind. For others still, it means planning the day to create clarity and direction. The activity itself matters less than the principle behind it. Start your morning with purpose instead of passivity. When you begin your day with purpose, you send a message to yourself. I am in control. I decide how this day will unfold. That message creates confidence and momentum. On the other hand, when you begin with weakness, you send the opposite message. I let comfort decide. I let distractions guide me. That message destroys confidence and creates guilt. The way you start your morning sets the psychological tone for how you see yourself all day long. If you start disciplined, you feel strong. If you start careless, you feel behind. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that a wasted morning can be fixed later. They think they'll regain control in the afternoon or evening. But in reality, a lost morning rarely recovers. By the time the day is halfway gone, your energy has already dropped, your willpower is depleted, and the demands of others are pulling you in every direction. If you didn't lead yourself when the day was fresh, you won't magically find the discipline when the day is already slipping away. That's why mornings matter so much. They are your chance to gain control before the weight of the world arrives. Think about the times in your life when you felt proudest of yourself. Chances are they were days when you started strong. You woke up early. You stuck to your commitment. You got ahead of your work. You moved your body. You fed your mind. And because you began with strength, the rest of the day followed in line. Compare that to the days then you felt most frustrated. They often began with delay, with rushing, with wasting time on meaningless activity. Once the morning slipped, the whole day became a reflection of that weakness. This pattern is no accident. It's the law of rhythm. How you start is how you continue. Taking charge of your mornings also teaches you self-respect. When you choose discipline over comfort first thing in the day, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. You prove that your commitments mean more than your cravings. That respect builds each day you repeat it. Over time, it becomes an identity. You no longer debate whether to wake up early, to move, to focus. You simply do it because it's who you are. That's the power of claiming your mornings consistently. It rewires your belief about yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids responsibility and start seeing yourself as someone who leads their life. But none of this happens if you live addicted to comfort. Comfort in the morning whispers lies. You deserve more sleep. 5 more minutes won't matter. You'll start late. Those lies feel harmless, but they rob you of momentum. They steal your day before it even begins. And once comfort wins in the morning, it's much easier for it to win in the afternoon, and again in the evening. That's how comfort becomes the theme of your life. You never build strength, because you always start by giving in. If you want to change your life, change your mornings. Start with one simple but non-negotiable routine that builds strength. Wake up at a set time. Move your routine. Plan your day. Do something that forces you to take ownership immediately. Once you've claimed your morning, everything else becomes easier, because you've already proven you are in control. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. One strong morning repeated daily will reshape your identity, your productivity, and your future. The truth is, your morning is a reflection of your leadership. If you can't lead yourself for the first hour of the day, How do you expect to lead yourself through the challenges of the next 10? If you can't win the battle against comfort when the day is fresh, how will you win against the bigger battles that come later? Leading yourself begins with leading your morning. You must ask yourself, do I want to spend my life chasing days that slip through my fingers? Or do I want to create days that move me closer to my goals? The answer lies in the first decision you make each morning. You either rise with intention, or you surrender to weakness. You either claim the day, or you hand it away. There is no neutral ground. You're either leading yourself, or losing yourself, and nowhere is that more visible than in your mornings. Take charge of them with strength and discipline, or lose your entire day to distractions and regret. That choice is made every single morning, and it will decide the direction of your entire life. You're either leading yourself, or losing yourself. That truth doesn't stop when this video ends. It begins the moment you walk away. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you take charge of your mornings, your routines, your habits, your emotions, or will you let another day slip through your fingers? Every day is proof of whether you're in control or not, and tomorrow will reveal the choice you make today. If you're ready to stop drifting and start leading, this is your moment. Don't just hear these words, live them, because the difference between people who transform their lives and people who waste their lives is simple. Leaders act, and followers of excuses wait. If this message spoke to you, there's more waiting for you here. Stay connected, keep learning, and keep leading yourself. Your future depends on it.